Today's mini lesson we're calling it unit rate continued because we're still dealing with unit rate, but we're going to introduce problems that take it just one step further. Now again, let's refresh our memories. What is unit rate? It's just the comparison of two quantities that make a ratio between the first unit and the second unit, but we got to get that second unit, the denominator, down to just one. So we're dealing with 50 miles per hour. That means we're going 50 miles in just 1 hour. Now let's look at our keywords that let us know we're dealing with a unit rate type problem. When we see these words, that means we got to get this unit down to 1. And whatever unit follows one of these keywords, we're going to set it up as the denominator. Now when we set up our problem, we call it setting up the ticket. Just like we can't get into a game without the ticket, we cannot solve these problems correctly unless we set up our ticket. Remember, the unit that follows the keyword is set as the denominator. So if we have 27 miles per 3 gallons, we have per, the unit that follows per is gallons. So if you notice, the gallons or the G is set to the denominator, the miles goes on top, and they fill in their values. I got 27 miles over 3 gallons. You know that 3 divided by 3 is 1. When I do the bottom, we do the top. 27 divided by 3 is 9. So if we're going 27 miles on 3 gallons, that means we're averaging about 9 miles on 1 gallon of gas. Now, a problem that we would have seen previously could have been like this. Marty's a truck driver and he averages 210 miles every 3 hours. This is supposed to be how. How far does he travel per hour? Well, the keyword is per, the unit that follows is hour. So I know that hour is going to be the denominator. So it's going to be something over hour. What's the other unit that's being compared? Miles. Miles over hour. Now just fill in the values. I have 210 miles. So 210 goes on top. Excuse my board. 210 miles over how many hours? Over 3 hours equals something we're looking for per 1 hour. Per 1 hour. We got to figure out what goes in this section to let me know what I do to the bottom, I got to do the top. Well, when we go to 3 to 1, we're getting smaller, so we're going to divide. Anything divided by itself gets us 1. So 3 divided by 3 equals 1. When I do the bottom, I got to do the top. 210 divided by 3 equals 70. This means that if we're going 200, or Marty's going 210 miles in 3 hours, that means he's averaging 70 miles per 1 hour. He's going 70 miles per hour. Let's take a look at another one. Now I'm going to set up the same way. Still got to set up a ticket, miles over hour. However, this one is not a unit rate problem because we're not looking per 1 hour. We're eventually looking for 6 hours. So this is just a ratio, but we still got to set up our ticket. So again, it's going to be 210 over 3 equals something, not over 1, over 6. Now our middle area is going to be a little different. What do you do to 3 to get to 6? You know that 3 times 2 is 6. And what you do to the bottom, you got to do the top. So 3 times 2 is 6. That means 210 times 2 equals 420. So if we keep the same rate, that means in 6 hours, Marty's going to be traveling 420 miles. Now, that's a little easy. What happens when the 3 does not go into the other number evenly? That's when we have to set up as a unit rate type problem and then multiply by this number. You're going to see what I mean. It's still set up miles over hour. Still fill in your values. We have 210 over 3 equals something over 7. Does 3 go to 7 evenly? No, it does not. So we're going to set it to 1 first. Now again, you know 3 divided by 3 is 1. Divide this by 3. We again get 70 miles per 1 hour. Now we're not looking per 1 hour. We are looking how far he's going in 7 hours. So we take our unit rate and then just multiply it by 7. Because what I do to 1 to get to 7, you got to multiply by 7. And what you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. And we know that 70 times 7 equals 490. So at this same rate that he's going 70 miles per 1 hour, that means he will be going 490 miles in 7 hours. Let's take a look at another one. Taylor, Taylor's drinking 22 gallons of water every other week. At that same rate, how many gallons of water would Taylor drink in 9 weeks? Well, I know that weeks is going on bottom. And the other thing that's being compared is gallons. Gallons of water. Fill in our values. We have 22 over how many weeks? Well, we have 22 gallons over every other week. How many weeks is every other week? That's every 2 weeks. So we have 22 over 2. Well, 2 does not go into 9 evenly, so I got to set it down to 1 first. So we got to get this down to 1 week. When we figure out our middle section, divide by the denominator. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. When I do the bottom, got to do the top. 22 divided by 2 equals 11. That means Taylor's averaging 11 gallons of water per 1 week. We're not looking for 1 week though. We are looking for 9 weeks. So we find our new rate, our unit rate, which is 11 gallons per week, and we multiply it by 9. Because what you do to 1 to get to 9, you have to multiply by 9. What you do to the bottom, you got to do the top. And 11 times 9 is 99. So if she averages the same rate, 11 gallons per week, that means in 9 weeks, she's going to drink 99 gallons of water. Let's look at another one. Mr. Elgin, he can paint 1/2 of a wall in 1/3 of an hour. At this rate, how much can he paint in 4 hours? We got to get it to 1 before we multiply by 4. So when I set this up, we have something over hours. We have the number of walls, or how much of the wall he's painting, over hour. Fill in your value. What number is associated with the wall? We have 1/2 over 1/3 of an hour equals something over 1. Now, just because there's fractions doesn't mean we're not doing anything different. We know that anything divided by itself gets us 1, so we're just going to divide by the denominator. Divide by 1/3, divide by 1/3. We got to remember, what's the rule when we divide fractions? Keep, change, flip. Keep the first fraction, 1/2, divided by 1/3. We keep the first one, change division to multiplication, and we flip 1/3 to 3 over 1. Now that we're multiplying fractions, we go straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. So this is our rate. He paints 3 over 2, or 1 1/2 walls per 1 hour. Again, the problem is not asking per 1 hour though. It's looking in 4 hours. So I'm going to take this rate and get it to 4. Well, how do I get 1 to 4? You multiply by 4. What I do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. Give myself a little more room. So right now the problem is 3/2 times 4. 3 over 2 times 4. Can't do a whole number times a fraction. Can't do a fraction times a whole number. So I'm going to change the whole number to a fraction. By doing that, you just put it over 1. 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 1 is 2. We know that 12 over 2 is the same thing as saying 12 divided by 2, which equals 6. So at this rate, in 4 hours, Mr. Elgin can paint 6 walls. Now hopefully you've learned enough to be able to practice right here. Go ahead and take a couple minutes, pause it right here, and we'll get back to you in 1 minute. Alright, let's review this real quick. Mr. Johnson's grading 7 papers every 1/4 of an hour. At this rate, how many papers will he grade in 2 hours? It's not looking for 1 hour, it's looking for 2 hours, but let's set it to 1 first. So we have papers over hour, which means 7 papers every 1/4 of an hour. We got to get that down, or up I should say, to 1 hour. Well, we know that anything divided by itself gets us to 1. So we're going to divide the top and the bottom by 1/4. Divide by 1/4, divide by 1/4. Go ahead and do my work over here. I have 7 divided by 1/4. Got to turn the whole number into a fraction just by putting it over 1. 7 over 1, keep, change, flip. Which will give me 7 times 4 is 28 over 1. Which means that 28 over 1 is the same thing as 28. This means that in 1 hour he can grade 28 papers. Now, we're not looking for 1 hour, we are looking for 2 hours. So all we're going to do is multiply everything by 2. And 28 times 2 is 56. So if he's grading 28 papers per hour, that means in 2 hours he will have graded 56 papers. Let's look at the other one. The 2 units are miles per minute. I know that minute is going on bottom. I got miles over minutes. Miles over minute. Fill in your values. Sorry, my board's freaking out. Miles over minute. I have 1/2 over 5 minutes. Can't divide 5 evenly to 2 first, so we're going to get it down to 1. Equals something over 1. Well, I know that 5 divided by 5 is 1. Got to divide the top by also 5. So we have 1/2 divided by 5. Make the 5 a fraction, put it over 1. Keep change flip. 1/2 times 1 over 5, which give me 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 5 is 10. That means if he's going 1/2 mile in 5 minutes, in 1 minute, he's going 1/10 of a mile. Now, that would be our answer if it's saying for 1 minute, but we are looking for 2 minutes. So what are we going to do to this number? Just multiply by 2. So if I have 1/10 over 1 equals something over 2, we just multiply everything, like I said, by 2, multiply by 2. What is 1/10 times 2? 1/10 times 2, make the 2 a fraction, would be 2 over 1, which would be 2 over 10, which would be an acceptable answer, but it is not reduced or simplified. So what is 2 over 10 simplified to? Well, 2 goes into both 2 and 10, so you divide both the top and the bottom by 2, and that gives us 1 over 5. So that means in 2 minutes, he can travel 1/5 of a mile. And there is your unit rate part 2 review.